Narcissism isn't just a personality trait, it's a survival mechanism deeply rooted in our childhood. The rise of the deep narcissist goes beyond arrogance or self-centeredness. It's about how we cope with the world's early betrayals and expectations. In this video, we'll explore how narcissism develops, and more importantly, how it becomes destructive when left unchecked. You've heard of narcissism before, but have you ever wondered how someone truly becomes a deep narcissist? What happens in their formative years that molds them into someone who demands constant validation from others? Robert Greene, a master of human behavior, explores the psychology of narcissism and its origins. Understanding this is not just about labeling someone as selfish or egotistical. It's about recognizing the dark side of human nature and using it to our advantage. When we think of narcissists, we often imagine adults who seek constant admiration, who act as though they are above others. But what we rarely understand is that narcissism doesn't start in adulthood. It's planted early in life, typically between the ages of 3 and 4. This is the time when children begin to feel the emotional weight of growing up. Prior to this, they were the center of their parents' world. The world revolved around them. But as they hit a certain age, parents inevitably pull back their attention. They're not abandoning the child. They just begin to focus less on them. And to a child, this can feel like the world is crumbling. In that pivotal moment, the child begins to ask, "Why don't they love me as much? What's wrong with me?" This is when the child starts constructing a defense mechanism. Instead of relying on others for validation, they tell themselves, "I have to be my own parent. I have to love myself because no one else will." That's where the seed of narcissism is planted. It's not inherently evil. It's a survival tactic, an emotional self-defense mechanism. But if the child doesn't receive enough emotional support during this time, or, in some cases, receives too much, the seed doesn't grow into healthy self-love, but into something more toxic. As these children grow, they encounter criticism and challenges. The ones who have developed an unhealthy form of narcissism often don't know how to process these negative emotions. Without an anchor of healthy self-esteem, they cannot retreat inwardly and say, "I'm okay." "I love myself." Instead, they lash out. They become defensive, angry, and consumed with narcissistic rage. When faced with criticism, they don't take a deep breath and reflect. Instead, they project anger and disdain, pushing others away. They've lost the ability to self-soothe. Instead of drawing from an inner well of calm, they are constantly searching for external validation. They need others to affirm their worth because they no longer know how to do it themselves. But there's more. In an effort to regain control and ensure they are seen, deep narcissists often engage in dramatic displays, making themselves the center of attention. This is how they survive. This is how they feel loved. Narcissism, in its purest form, isn't inherently negative. Every human being has a touch of narcissism. It's a basic part of our psychological makeup. The trick is to recognize it, harness it, and transform it into something productive. As Greene suggests, narcissism, when properly channeled, can lead to extraordinary achievements. It fuels creativity, determination, and ambition. We've all seen this play out in famous figures, the artists, the innovators, the visionaries, who draw strength from their inner self-love and their desire to be admired. They take their shadows, their pain, and their insecurities, and use them to fuel their work. But here's the critical catch. This process works only if you recognize your narcissistic traits early on and use them in constructive ways. If unchecked, narcissism can easily turn toxic and destructive. It can spiral into a pattern of self-centeredness that hurts not just the narcissist, but everyone around them. The goal, then, is to evolve beyond narcissism's dangerous, destructive tendencies. As Robert Greene emphasizes, the real task of life is not to eliminate narcissism, but to transform it. It's about turning that inward self-love into empathy for others, learning to see the world not just through your own eyes, but through the eyes of those around you. A healthy narcissist knows when to reflect on their behavior. They understand the importance of self-love, but they also know that empathy, care, and consideration for others are essential for growth and human connection. The challenge lies in using the strength of narcissism, its drive, its ambition, its creativity, for the greater good. Greene himself admits that he too struggled with narcissistic tendencies. When writing The Laws of Human Nature, he had to confront his own flaws, his own irrationality and grandiosity. But by doing so, he gained self-awareness. Here's where things get tricky. The deeper you delve into the psychology of narcissism, the more you realize that it's not something you can easily escape. It's an integral part of who we are. Greene talks about how we all have a shadow side, that part of us that we try to ignore, deny, or push away. The narcissistic traits we carry are part of that shadow. It's not just about grandiosity or a desire for admiration. It's also about the wounds that remain unhealed. The rejection from childhood, the fear of not being good enough, and the endless need to prove ourselves. The deeper the narcissistic traits, the more pronounced the shadow side becomes. But here's the important lesson. You can't fight the shadow. You can't pretend it doesn't exist. If you try, it will only get stronger, and eventually, it will sabotage your life. The key is to acknowledge your shadow, recognize the narcissistic tendencies within yourself, and turn them into something useful. For Greene, confronting his narcissism and grandiosity wasn't easy. It was about looking inward, admitting his flaws, and then transforming them. When we do this, we can start controlling our behavior instead of being controlled by it. One of the most dangerous attitudes you can adopt is believing you are exempt from narcissism. In fact, Greene finds this attitude to be the most offensive. Why? Because it's a form of moral superiority. The idea that, I'm not like them, I don't have these flaws. This is a dangerous trap. Not only does it blind you to your own behaviors, but it also prevents growth. When you deny your own narcissism, you fail to develop self-awareness. You live in denial, unaware of the subtle ways your behavior affects others. Worse still, you carry an inflated sense of righteousness. You believe you're above human nature, above those petty flaws that the rest of us struggle with. But here's the truth. We are all cut from the same cloth. We all share the same imperfections. The difference lies in how we confront them. Those who deny their flaws often end up projecting their inner conflicts onto others. They may criticize or judge, unable to recognize their own narcissistic tendencies. But those who acknowledge their flaws, confront them, and work to transform them have the potential for growth. Greene's point is clear. Awareness is the key. You can't grow if you are in denial. You can't evolve if you refuse to acknowledge your flaws. Narcissism is not something that can be wished away. It's something that must be recognized, understood, and ultimately transformed into something positive. So what does a healthy narcissist look like? Well, Greene argues that the healthy narcissist is someone who has recognized their own narcissistic traits and has learned to manage them. They don't deny their need for validation, but they don't let it control them either. They've harnessed their narcissism to fuel their ambitions, but they don't seek validation for the sake of validation. Instead, they find their motivation in a purpose, a cause, or a vision that transcends their own ego. For example, an artist might channel their narcissistic drive into their work, creating something that is both personal and impactful. They use their narcissism to fuel their creativity, but they also understand the importance of connecting with their audience and the world around them. The healthy narcissist doesn't simply demand admiration. They earn it through their actions, their dedication, and their ability to contribute something meaningful to the world. They understand that true success comes not from external validation, but from internal growth and the ability to serve a greater purpose. Here's the thing: narcissism is not inherently bad. It's a necessary part of human development. Every person needs to love themselves to some degree. Without it, they can't survive. But the challenge is to evolve that self-love into something greater. The goal is to move from self-absorption to self-awareness. It's about transforming self-love into empathy. Instead of constantly seeking validation from others, the healthy narcissist learns to look outward, to understand the emotions and experiences of others. They understand that empathy and love are the true measures of success, not admiration or praise. This is the ultimate challenge for all of us: to take the raw energy of narcissism and turn it into something constructive. Can we harness our egos for good? Can we turn the wounds of our past into the fuel for our future? In the end, narcissism is a complex and multifaceted part of human nature. It has its origins in childhood, where a child begins to develop the emotional tools they need to survive in the world. For some, this self-love evolves into healthy narcissism, driving them toward success and creativity. For others, it can turn toxic, leading to a life filled with emotional turmoil and relational chaos. But the key is awareness. By acknowledging our narcissistic tendencies, understanding where they come from, and learning to manage them, we can all move toward a healthier, more productive version of ourselves. So, the question remains: are you ready to confront your own narcissism and transform it into something positive? It's not easy, but it's the path to true growth. As Greene wisely says, we are all cut from the same cloth. It's up to us to decide whether we let our flaws define us or whether we rise above them and become better versions of ourselves.